Okay, well, if you think Facebook ads is the only option and spending $30,000 on Facebook ads that you don't have that $30,000 yet, well, let's say there's a lot of other ways that are free to create client attraction. If you're following this marketing funnel, this fancy, beautiful funnel that's 15 grand, but you also don't have 15 grand yet, there's other options. Now, if you have money and you want to do that and that feels really good, like, heck yeah, do it. Hello, hello, hello. I am Dr. Andrea Greiner.
And I'm Katie Corbin.
Welcome to the Dreams to Dollars podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs and professionals who are on their way to actualizing their dreams into reality.
Join us in this lighthearted and unique podcast where we talk about business, success, life, and building a deeper trust in God and the universe.
We are here to elevate the conversation and bring the magic to build your legacy.
We're excited for you to be here. Can't wait to dive in. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining in today to the Dreams to Dollars podcast. Today, we're going to dive deep into busting client attraction myths. And I think that if you're in business, you have some sort of way right now that you're probably attracting clients. So we're going to go into the ways that I think that there's so many methodologies out there that tell you that you have to attract clients in a certain way, or this is the best way to attract clients. And I want to say
this is the only way.
Right, the only way. This is the only magical way that you can attract clients. And I want to say that the biggest thing we want you to remember is there's no actually really right or wrong way to attract clients into your business. And we're going to kind of break this down into three things that we think are important when it comes to how to bust these myths around client attraction so you can get clear on how you are going to attract clients into your business. And if you're an entrepreneur and you're a successful entrepreneur, you probably already have some ways that you're already doing this on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis to get clients through your door. And the biggest way I feel like every entrepreneur kind of expects, and we can get better at the process of getting referrals into our clinic or office or business, whatever you want to call that. But the truth is referrals, unless you've been in business for a long time, referrals can also be a great way to get client attraction, especially like the referrals coming in. Hey, my dad referred me for this, and they kind of already trust you because their son referred the dad. So that's kind of a nice way of getting clients through the door. When you're attracting clients, they can be already pre-filtered a little bit. And we all like that. Pre-filtered clients tend to be a little bit better than these clients that need more hand-holding, or they're really skeptical, or they want like miraculous results in a short period of time, and their expectations are way too skewed to really do anything with them. But the problem also with referral-based marketing, if you're in the first 5 years of business, that can be really slow. And it actually can be like this dragging energy. And sometimes it's good to say like, well, okay, referrals are always awesome, but having a sense of what we would say the first myth is almost having no flexibility, right? It's a myth that we have to have the same methodology for referrals or for client attraction for the entire, length of our business. And that's not true to any degree, especially if you've been in business long enough and you were in business before even social media was around. Social media wasn't even a methodology years ago to get business. So, and a lot of people actually don't even use social media if they've been in business long enough. Maybe they're not flexible enough to change their ways into getting business in a different way. So flexibility, and almost like the flexibility to be innovated and try new methods that will actually make your business grow to the capacity that you desire it to grow to.
What a good point, right? Because right now, depending on where you are, like you started your business before I did. So like for you, social media was an ad. For me, that's all I did. I mean, that was not just for my clinic. My clinic, there was many other modalities or methods that I used, but in social media, it's like, that's what I know quite well. And we see people in all areas of solely referral based, solely social media, solely ads, solely cold pitching. It's like there's so many different ways it can work for you and not work for you. Just like you said, like if you're new, if you're in your first 5 years, that referral base, we don't want you sitting in your clinic like twiddling your thumbs. And I think sometimes that's what people might consider referral base, but I consider referral base like you're hitting the ground with your boots and you're going to meet people and you're, dropping cards off or flowers off or heaven forbid cookies off or, something, and you're introducing yourself, you're doing something different. So this conversation is more of what we've seen, what works. Katie and I have very different opinions of what's worked for us, and then our clients have different points of view. So I love that there's already in bringing the topic up that there's a question of like flexibility, because what worked for you when you started, you might get bored of it, or you might say, okay, well now I'm booked out. Now what? And I still am not at that target of what I want, right? So we have a lot to cover. And so we just always want to reach out and say, we are thanking each of you for listening, whether you're driving on your commute, you're walking with your dogs, you're in the forest, you're cooking a meal, you're sitting with friends, however you're walking around the neighborhood in Mexico, however you're listening, we always just want to touch base and say thank you so much for tuning into this conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And it is an interesting conversation to have because I think the biggest thing that we're going back to is there is no right or wrong way to get clients through the door. You can have an ad pop up in your Facebook thing that says, "Hey, by the way, this is the best way of getting marketing. This is the exact way that you can attract clients through your door, and it's the only way that's working right now." And it's like, that's not even in integrity nor true, but in the way of attracting clients, I think there's somewhat on social media too. There's sort of a desperation for people because
Yeah.
now with social media, since we had gone through 2020, what happened was a lot of people shifted gears and went online, especially people in brick and mortar. It doesn't mean like you shut down your brick and mortar or you did, but there was a mass influx of people looking online, not even doing business online, but looking online. So now I feel like there's sort of this, it's starting to get better now. What I feel like there's a lot of people kind of sort of like siphoning out, that didn't really make it or thought the business was going to be really easy or that they were just going to sell while they slept, but they didn't have to have the thing set up or offer. So I think that there's a siphoning out now, but there is a lot of sort of skeezy marketing out there that will tell you that there's only one way or you have to do this for the rest of your life in order to get clients. You have to build a funnel and then you have to get people from Facebook ads and then you sell one offer. And, it's like, no, no, no. I mean, that might work for some people, but having the flexibility is really part of the entrepreneurial mind. It is the innovation that occurs through the years if you want to be an entrepreneur for decades.
Yeah. And I think the flexibility and with a question, right? Katie and I do this all the time. We're like, okay, what would this look like? We're attracting clients this way. What else would we want to add? Right. Because it's like, if you think there's only one way, then and you're kind of stuck in a mold that feels pretty limited and it might be working. And there might also be many other ways. So to me, I'm always like, why not add more to the point of like overwhelm or something like that. But if one way is working and you want to keep growing, what else can you add? And that's where Katie and I operate a lot from is like, okay, this is working. Now what else? What else can we add? Or who else? Or who knows more than we do, right? It's sort of like who knows this really well that we can bring on that's going to shed more light. Awesome. And so moving into the second one, we kind of want to bust the myth of, how you watch TV and they're like, are you constipated? And they like lead with a question and they're like, if you're constipated, then da, 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 right? And I'm kind of bringing a silly topic because I want you to be driving somewhere and laughing and being like, oh my God, totally. Like I don't watch a lot of TV, but there's always this way that you like start with a question. And actually, what we want to bust the myth is that you have to start with a question, you have to find sound advertising, you have to like follow this formula of how you're speaking to your audience and your clients, right? And really finding your authentic tone And we work with a lot of clinicians, a lot of doctors, and so, and also not having the tone of like, I am a doctor and let's talk about these big doctor words, right? It's like, what's the sort of the in between that is harnessing your tone and really allowing people to be like, wow, I love how they talk. I love how they speak. They're speaking to me like they get me, but it doesn't have to be this cheesy advertisement way. It doesn't have to be, this always leading with a question. It would be this inner exploration of like, well, what is my authentic tone? How do I want to speak to my people that, I can be a doctor, I can be very smart, and they can really relate. I can relate to clients from all walks of life, if that's what you're choosing.
Yes. And back when there was like the only way of advertising was the yellow pages, right? And the billboards. It's like that most of that stuff is pretty dead the way that things are, evolving into. And I do find with the age of social media and how social media is going to evolve, the more authentic you can be and the more tone you can set for the people on the other side that are really meant to work with you. Like I listen to Andrea's stuff and she hears me. I can hear myself in her voice. I can see myself inside her offers. I resonate with that. And coming from a place of authenticity, not looking like everybody else and saying the same thing that everybody else is saying, it's really easy to get lost in that where everybody's saying like, just respect your boundaries and everything is going to get better. Just set your boundaries, everybody, and everything is going to get better.
Right. Another one is now as you're speaking, I'm like AI writing, AI
Yes.
copy, right? So everyone's kind of like, "Ugh," you can like feel it. And like Katie and I sort of back and forth sometimes are like, hey, I use AI for contribution if I'm looking for a word or like a
Certain
phrase or
things.
something. But to have it write all of your posting is sort of like, you can tell. So people are actually going to you're going to see this. We're going to see this like continuing to look for like the depth, maybe even the cursing, maybe even the like funky words you use, like your quirkiness to come through because you're going to see some sterilized or like dumbed down to like too much AI use and where people are like they're almost laser focused on who's real here. Like is this real and who's real here? And that's where I want to go. You get to be that choice, the
Yeah,
chosen.
the chosen one. Um,
The chosen one.
and also I want to say too, if people don't, they're just utilizing AI in a very generic way and they don't know how to set the tone and utilize and kind of program the AI, whatever they're using, whether it's a visual or written, or we're going to see a lot more AI stuff coming out. I would say probably in the near future and into the future, right? There's 10 years from now, we're going to look back and be like, oh my God, this is so different. Like the landscape's going to be so different. So we want to say that there's also no right way to speak to your audience. There's no right way to speak. How do you speak to your audience? Because the way that I speak to my audience and the way Andrea speaks to her audience is very different. Like it's going to resonate. There's a tone behind it. And there's also like almost like this magic behind it when you express your authentic self and your authentic voice through your marketing. It is often felt when you're see like the word embodied in your work.
So that looks like you might be using some skills. I had a coach that said, don't start with a question, start with a statement. And I was like, oh, I personally found relief in that because I hate the questions always made me think of the cheesy commercials. Are you feeling constipated? And if you are, take this medication that has 15,000 side effects, right? So like to me, I was always kind of triggered. I've seen great posts that start with a question. I typically choose not to start that way anymore. So it's like, I liked that feedback from that coach. But does that mean that you can't have a post with a question? No, absolutely not, right? This is part of the dynamics of what having that question, what really works for me.
Yeah, it depends on like how it kind of feeds people in, like saying, "Are you struggling with insomnia?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. It tends to pull people in versus insomnia is the biggest killer because it creates heart disease. Like for me, that's gonna draw me. Like I want to know why that this is not true. I'm just making this up. This could lead to that, and I want to know. It tends to draw people in a little bit different. So it's important to start to shift, right? And we want to shift the mindset around this because sometimes people are always looking for I gotta attract more clients in this specific way. And it's cool to learn techniques and learn from mentors and, pick up things and get ahas and looking at the big picture of it. Absolutely, that's important. But just remember at your authentic self, you are you, and the way that you market and the way you innovate in your marketing to attract clients is going to be very different. And it's okay. It's like the concept of like, it's okay to be different. We can bust the myth that being different isn't wrong than everybody else out there.
The other thing is optimize several different methods. Now, what comes up too is this conversation of like, okay, well, if you think Facebook ads is the only option and spending $30,000 on Facebook ads that you don't have that $30,000 yet, well, let's say there's a lot of other ways that are free to create client attraction. If you're following this marketing funnel, this fancy, beautiful funnel that's 15 grand, but you also don't have 15 grand yet, there's other options, right? We can get stuck in like these fancy ideas that to now, if you have money and you want to do that and that feels really good, like heck yeah, do it, right? And you've done your research. So also to just remember there's many different ways that this can happen. And if you're out in the beginner phase, use the free way. We've seen where we've used organic marketing and created, beyond six figures. And many people that we follow and love to follow have organic businesses that don't use ads and are in the millions also, right? So just to kind of keep that in mind, the client attraction aspect can be very dynamic and shift and change as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's sometimes actually in the change where you start to find your voice. I think sometimes, and we'll say like number three would be that there's almost like only one way of marketing, right? Subliminal messaging, right? Subconscious marketing. There's only one way to sort of capture people's attention in the marketing realm. Because I know that I will hear people where they're like, well, I don't care what I say. I just sort of want people to come into my offer. Like it doesn't matter what I say on the marketing end. Like we just want nice copy and a nice sales page. And I hope people sign up for my offer. And the truth is about that is like, it's almost like you're doing yourself a little bit of disservice again because it becomes more generic and it becomes more faded, right? Like, how many
Yeah.
times are we going to copy somebody else's stuff? And how many times are we going to take something that we see online and say, like, oh, I should be doing that because I saw this other person doing that? It's like
Yeah.
busting the myth around that, like, you have to be everybody else and you have to speak like everybody else in your subconscious marketing, right? In the realm of like how you talk, right? And this is sort of like we're going back into tone too as well. But when I say this, I mean that allow yourself the curiosity to explore, how do you get clients? How do you put your message out there and how does that land? And one tip that I would also utilize is if you're getting clients by speaking a certain way, save that stuff, document it, put it in a
Mm-hmm.
folder so you can reference like what made somebody reach out to me? What is the
Yeah.
subconscious marketing that you're specifically saying that makes somebody book a call, that makes somebody come into your office, that makes somebody, what are those ways? And find out what is working for you in particular, because that's going to be a way that you can actually help to turn the wheel in the marketing aspect by getting more clients through the door in your authentic marketing.
Yeah, I love that because that's something you can go back to years, every year. Like, hey, that really worked when I talked about this. People really came. It's like then you might find that you have specific topics that you really enjoy that are quite a bit more magnetic. Now we didn't even talk about like the energetics and, there's all kinds of, well, if you stand on your head for 5 minutes and you do 7 somersaults, then you'll be able to, no, I'm just joking. But,
There's
there's a
special
lot of,
ways.
yes, yeah, yeah, you do a ritual or whatever, so that information, just like Katie said, you can use that for feedback, and build upon that, right? And be like, oh yeah, I actually have like three big themes that bring people to my clinic, to my online services, to my whatever. And that's actually really exciting to start to really sink into what those things are and And that, what made somebody say yes to that 10K offer? What made people book that call and then book to work with me for 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is, or come into that program? It can be so exciting. And I think when, Katie and I have many different places we're connecting with people, and one of the biggest things is client attraction. People say, I need more clients, I need more clients, I need more clients, I need more clients. And it's like, what if it was what if we could take the pressure, kind of like with money, what if we could take the pressure off and have it be more of an exploration, allow it to be something where you do show up more embodied, you find what works for you, and you're inspired instead of kind of when you're in that phase of like, I need more clients, I need more clients. It's like you're kind of banging your head against the wall and you're in a bit of a stuck energy. And like, what are the questions you can ask? What is working? What 3 different ways could you add today to allow something to shift and without having to spend tons and tons of money all at the same time? Because many listeners are abundant in client attraction and want to add more, and many are asking, how do I fill my schedule? How do I get to that place? What is that? I don't want to spend 15K just yet. Okay, that's okay. We're saying all the different ways that can, when you look at it from a place of curiosity and growth, so much more can happen and come.
Yes, absolutely. So I hope that these have helped you look at it, and really we want to leave you with there's no right way to attract clients. And the best way is really to do it in the way that feels most authentic to you, but also gives you results and it works. So thanks for listening, guys, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Dreams to Dollars podcast. If you vibe with our content and want to find out how to work with us, check out our show notes for the links.